Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to our Song Power Launch webinar. My name is Jade, and we're so excited to dig in with y'all for the next couple hours. But before we start, I'm going to kick it over to Sensotle Language Justice Collective to introduce the interpretation. And I'll share back the number on my screen. But thank y'all so much for being here and making this a bilingual space.
Hola, buenas tardes. Somos Patti y mi compa Rocío. Venimos de parte de Sensonle, una cooperativa de justicia de lenguaje basada aquí en Asheville.
Hi everyone. So we are Sensontle based in Asheville. It's a language justice cooperative. We are Rocío and Patti, the interpreters.
Estamos muy contentas de estar aquí interpretando esta noche y entonces básicamente vamos a explicar cómo va a funcionar la interpretación en el webinario de hoy.
We're super excited to be here interpreting tonight, and we'll go over on how interpretation will work for the webinar tonight.
Entonces hay una llamada, hay un número de teléfono que pueden ver en pantalla, es el 404-549-6942.
So you can go into the Spanish interpretation line at 404-549-6942.
Entonces todo lo que se está hablando en la llamada de Zoom será interpretado por el teléfono. Entonces pueden llamar y nos escucharán a mí o a mi compa Rocío interpretando todo lo que esté pasando en la reunión de hoy. Y si en algún momento quieren colaborar o hablar, pueden hablar por el teléfono también.
So everything that's been said on the Zoom call will be interpreted into the phone line. So if you want to listen to it in Spanish, go ahead and call the number, and everything will be interpreted. If you want to make a comment or say something, you may do so on the phone line.
Y les pedimos cosas que Zoom nos ayuda un poquito, pero para que nos ayude todo el mundo igual es que solamente hable una persona a la vez y eso gracias a Zoom es más fácil. Al igual...
We usually ask people to speak one at a time, but Zoom kind of helps us do that. And so please just be mindful and speak one person at a time.
Y también les pedimos que no hablen muy deprisa cuando se emocionen para contar algo, sino que tengan un paso moderado para ayudarnos a pasar el mensaje lo mejor posible.
Also, we know some people get excited and may speak too fast. We just ask you please to just speak at a more moderate pace so that we as interpreters can catch on and relay the message.
Y también queremos ser conscientes que nosotras solo damos la interpretación del inglés a español y español a inglés, pero queremos honrar y mencionar todas esas lenguas que han sido perdidas o robadas.
And we just want to be mindful and recognize that we only have the capacity to interpret from English to Spanish to English, but we do want to recognize all those languages that may have been stolen from us or lost.
Entonces, si alguien quiere hablar en otra lengua o en Spanglish que sea consciente que puede hacer esto, simplemente le pedimos que se interprete a sí misma.
So if anybody wants to bring another one of these languages or Spanglish, you can do so. We just ask you to interpret for yourself afterwards in English, please.
Y creo que eso ya es todo, ya nos estarán escuchando por el teléfono, así que esperamos que aprendan mucho, que vaya muy bien y aquí estamos.
Well, I think that is all. Thank you so much. Now you'll be listening to everything interpreted in Spanish on the line. I hope this is a good, productive meeting where you learn a lot and you enjoy it. Thank you.
My name is Jillian. I use they, them pronouns, and I am honored to support Song Power with some operations stuff. Just a quick note before we start. We've set this up as a webinar versus a general Zoom meeting. So it'll just be our faces that we'll be seeing tonight. And we'll be the only folks able to talk, but we still want to get in touch with y'all and see what's going on with you and get to know you a little bit more. So KEEL in a second is going to run us through a check-in. But please feel free to use the chat feature if you are on Zoom. On the bottom, it says you can send a message to all panelists or everyone. So if you want everyone to see the message, you can say all panelists and attendees. And if you're on Facebook, please feel free to use the comments feature, and Mickey, Jordan, and I will be making sure that we are able to see and read your messages. We'll also have various Q&As throughout. But let's practice that comment feature. Keel, let's have a little check-in.
Thanks, Jillian. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Keel. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I'm calling from Richmond, Virginia. Being that there are 100+ people on this call, we can't hear from everyone as we check in, but please drop in the chat an introduction of yourself. And we ask that in this introduction, you say your name, your gender pronouns, where you're calling from, and answer this question. If you were running for office, what would your campaign slogan be? Again, that's the name, pronoun, where you're calling from, and if you're running for office, what would your campaign slogan be? And as folks are filling that in, see some folks from Atlanta, some more folks from Georgia, some campaign slogans. Wonderful. Folks from North Carolina, hey everybody, thanks for joining. We can get to know each other a little bit through the comments, but now I'm gonna pass it back to Jade.
Hi team, this is Jade with Song Power. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm in South Carolina. And we are so excited to be with you tonight. I'm gonna throw back up there our little slide. For those just joining in, we are offering interpretation for the call tonight. And to join the interpretation in Spanish, you can call in to this phone number, 404-549-6942. Para interpretación en español, llama a 404-549-6942. You can also, if you want to sneak peek, just jump ahead. You can visit our brand new spanking Song Power website, unleashpower.org, and just peruse in your free time. We're going to go over it. If you're in South Carolina, here's a couple links to get involved with our work. In Georgia, another link. And please connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Song Power C4. Don't forget, if you got to run, but you just wanted to pop in, you can give a donation to Song Power at bit.ly/songpower. Tonight, we're going to have a chance to ground ourselves in a little bit of political education about electoral organizing. You're going to hear why we started Song Power in the first place, a new 501c4 arm of our organization. And then we'll dig into two campaigns we're building out in Georgia and South Carolina, and share some ways that everyone can get involved.
Well, this is Shahidah. I am using she, her pronouns. I am in Memphis, Tennessee. I have my partner, Keel, who's gonna talk. We're gonna talk about electoral strategy and tactics and what makes it a good tactic. And so we want to start off with that because we know that there's a lot of feelings around politics and, freedom, this. So we want to just stress that for us, this is a tactic, right? And so tactic means that it's an active, carefully planned to achieve a specific end. And so a tactic means it's one of the ways that we are going to approach what we think about as liberation, queer liberation, freedom, the fight, the movement, right? Like all of those things. And the strategy is the campaign or an array of tactics that we're using to get to this end. And so what we know is that there's been a history of the use of this tactic for a really long time. And I'm scrolling down to write what I wrote so that I won't be rambling. And so the reason we think it's important is because the things we're often trying to accomplish are often tied to who is in office. Public safety and dignity are often tied to legislation. So the ways in which our bodies have been enacted upon, oppressions have been enacted upon our bodies have often been tied to legislation. And then just very frankly, that since everything is tied, that legislation ties back to who is in office. And so we think it's an important part of our strategy to make sure we identify a way to combat the legislation and the folks who are in power in office directly. And so that's part of why we do it. So now I'll kick it to KEEL.
Yep, just to piggyback off of that one, that we know that the game of politics is tied to capitalism. Money, unfortunately, buys politicians. And this is one of the reasons why electoral alone cannot be the strategy. Again, our electoral work is a tactic as part of our strategy. And we must think of how we can support folks that we put in office and to be held accountable to the values that they run on. So with that, I'm curious, and this is another chance for folks to communicate with each other in the chat, but what are some political campaigns, some candidates, or movements that have utilized this tactic of electoral work that have inspired you? So go ahead and drop those in the chat. Some people and movements that have inspired us that have also engaged in electoral work, me and Shahida are going to share a few of those with y'all. So first and foremost, the mother of the civil rights movement, Ella Baker. Sure, a lot of folks on the call know who Ella Baker is, but some brief context: she's the president of the National NAACP. But then, little known fact about Ella Baker: she resigned from the presidency of the NAACP to run for New York City Council in 1953 on the Liberal Party ticket. She was ultimately defeated by a Democratic candidate. Though unsuccessful, she took what she learned back to the NAACP, and that has reverberated through a movement. I'll pass it back to Shahida now for some more folks that inspire us.
Yeah, so one of my inspirations in movement, both Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer. And so I think one of the greatest examples of electoral politics as a strategy deals with the work around the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Caucus. And so for those that don't know, Fannie Lou Hamer was born in Mississippi, like in the Delta, and she's like brought into movement after she experienced a forced sterilization. And so that brings her to the civil rights movement. She has a lot of different experiences that she's trying to register herself to vote. And then she's hired basically because, again, SNCC, the dope work that SNCC is doing as a field organizer for SNCC. And so SNCC is a larger part of this strategy around voter rights. So we have so many organizations working at this time. We have CORE, we got SNCC, we got NAACP, we got the work that Martin Luther King is doing. Like, all of this is working at the same time. And so they decide that they're going to create, not Ella Baker, but Fannie Lou Hamer creates the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Caucus. And she also runs for office. So that's one of the first things that we see happen that kind of raises the awareness of this platform. It then becomes a tactic of SNCC as part of Freedom Summer, right? So the Democratic Caucus is building out this like huge platform of like where to place and absorb folks as they talk about politics, and then the folks on the ground for Freedom Summer, which I think it was like 1,000 people came in from the north, a lot of white folks, and they were knocking doors, registering folks, teaching folks how to register themselves while the political conversations and like the agenda was being formed and shaped in this caucus. And so it's a lot of dope work that came out of this and leads, and it's part of the work that propels us into the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which is currently, even still today, held as one of the most important pieces of legislation in our time because of, one, it addresses directly all the ways in which people were being disenfranchised, Black folks, Indigenous folks, people that weren't granted the right to vote in other forms of legislation, and then reinforces the rights of the voting rights and political rights of folks. And it's just, I think, an amazing example of like all of these things coming together And then lastly, I just want to name that even in that, as part of their electoral strategy, SNCC, the MF Mississippi Freedom Democratic Caucus, all of them also had components of work that was tied to economic relief, that was tied to economic and alternative work, where they built their own structures and supported each other collectively. And so that was always a part of the work. Back to you, Keel.
So some more folks that inspire us, and taking it up north, but these things seem to reverberate everywhere. The Rainbow Coalition, not Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition. We're talking about Fred Hampton. In 1969, it was a coalition that went across race, across age, across class, across gender, across neighborhood, and across organization. So the Chicago-based coalition was responsible for the Chicago Free Breakfast programs, health clinics, and good old-fashioned community organizing. While there was dispute in the coalition for engaging in electoral politics, the Rainbow Coalition can be credited for an emerging wave of progressive leaders that sought political power in the 1980s and 90s. Some recognizable names for this, maybe these are recognizable, maybe not, but the Cook County Clerk David Orr, former 15th Ward Alderman Marlene Carter, former City Council Clerk and current Chair of the Board of Education, Miguel Del Valle, and Chuy Garcia, and many, many more. Another person who and people name this in the chat, but Shirley Chisholm, Unboss, 1972, the first woman to run for president on the Democratic ticket, the first Black woman to serve in Congress. And before she ran for president, she even served on the New York State Assembly. When she was in Congress, again, all of these positions are elected, she was known for introducing and supporting very progressive legislation, like in terms of moderate to left, she was way left in terms of her counterparts. Her legislation focused on uplifting immigrants, indigenous communities, families, working class folks, and funding education, as well as economics and public finance. Taking it back to you to bring us home, Shahidah.
So I think everybody, not everybody, but a lot of folks know about Stacey Abrams' run for governor, and just think of the dope work, especially in alignment with movement. And so like how she worked with a lot of different organizations, how she brought in groups like Mahente, how she incorporated a platform that included like, just a diverse group, but like was centered in and held accountable to movement. I think that was dope work. And then I want to shout out, because I'm from Memphis and I'm biased, the Memphis People's Convention that brought Willie Harrington into office in 1991. And basically what it was like in Memphis had slowly become a majority Black city. They had been trying to run the mayor, Black folks for mayor, and there have been a couple of instances where like kind of Black candidates had kind of knocked up against each other. And so they decided to have a convention. Like group of folks was like, yo, this is our time. We finna get this shit. Like, let's get some folks together. And the agreement was that whoever won the convention, like everybody had to bring their politics to the table, they basis to the table, and the agreement was whoever came out of the position, whoever won the convention would win basically the Black vote. And so the election goes on. Of course, it doesn't run as smooth. They took a couple folks who was like, when Willie Harrington won, because he was not picked to be the winner or projected to be the winner, but he won like a flat out organizing the hoods, which people still sleep on today, but I'm not gonna go into that. And so anyway, he ends up winning the elections. One of, historically, it becomes one of the largest, the biggest elections, and also one of the most racially divisive. Like it is split, I think they said it was like 400 votes determine the winner, and it is split specifically down the lines. Like if we are 52% of the vote of the city, then 52% of the Black vote came out for Harrington, and then the other amount went for white folks. So it was definitely very racially divisive, and there was a lot of work done after that. But it was a dope example of folks coming together, and then some of the things that came out of what he was able to do as mayor in the beginning are testaments to that strategy.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Rebecca Keel. Thank you, Shahidah, for that amazing political education. And if you're just joining us, we are launching Song Power today. This is a little bit more info. If you gotta chime in for a second and then you gotta leave, we understand, not taking it personally. But one, we are having Spanish to English interpretation tonight. So to join the interpretation, you'll call this phone number, 404-549-6942. O para interpretación en español, llama a 404-549-6942. And to join our fight, check out unleashpower.org. We're going to be talking about more ways to plug in as we keep it going this evening. But now we'll kick it to Mary to talk a little bit about why we started Song Power.
Hello, dangerous homosexuals and everybody else who rolls with us hardcore. We see you. Good evening, and just want a quick shout out to my comrades who put together this amazing webinar. JADE, always a fucking writer, Mickey, JILLIAN, SHAHIDAH, KEEL, and so many more people who have contributed and gotten us to this point. And so some people are like, yo, why y'all doing this? Why we doing this? What the fuck? Well, look, y'all, the straight up and down is we have a mandate to build political power and to advocate and organize around the issues affecting our communities. Because if we don't, our communities are being organized, oftentimes into some bullshit, and sometimes left unorganized. And also, our issues don't get brought to the table the way in which they should for us to be able to contest for those and bring the world that we're trying to bring about the world that we're trying to create. And so we know that we're up against so much in this political moment. Real talk, the right has more consolidated power than we have ever seen. And they literally have run an incredible, fucked up, yet incredible strategy that has amassed a lot of power. And we have seen their agenda continue to run roughshod all over our communities across the South, and is oftentimes used as the testing ground, the South is, for a lot of their heinous experiments, a lot of their ridiculous policies that harm, divide, sicken, disenfranchise our communities. And so if we can do our part and do our work to build the power that we need, then we also can manifest a way more doper vision than they got, yo. And we also want to build our scale. And with Song Power, we know that we can build on and expand Song's success in terms of reaching more people and resources than we have before. And so to achieve our campaign and base building objectives, we have to grow. And we must work to change the rules that's going to alleviate the suffering that our people are experiencing right now. And Song Power had a power to endorse and shame, which is one of the things I'm most excited about, to shame candidates for office and get more of us in the room to turn up the heat and put on more public pressure, do more public pressure on these cats who say that they have our interest in mind. And so this allows us, the campaigns that we're currently moving, to get a little bit more heat and wind to them. As many of you know, we've been, fighting to end pretrial detention, to melt ICE with a long game vision of a world without the prison industrial complex. And so we know that we're gonna have to use all the tools in our toolbox in order to do what must be done. To alleviate the suffering that's happening in our communities. And so we know our work is to build, and it's to dismantle and to change. And so we're clear though that of the limitations that electoral organizing has. And that's why this isn't like the silver bullet, y'all. And so don't get that twisted. But we are anti-fundamentalists, meaning that we don't believe that, one thing is gonna get it. We don't believe that, one tactic is gonna free all of us. It's gonna take a multitude of tactics and strategies to achieve our goals. And so we also see that this is also a way for us to elevate our values and contend for power more aggressively. I feel like the vision that we have for the world and for a South that's free from fear is something that, you know, we can continue to manifest in all of our work and all of the tactics that we use to bring forward a Black queer feminist politic and all the things that we do. And so this is just gives us another opportunity to have more things in our toolbox and directly confront our targets and provide opportunities for our base to organize toward true political power, which we need. And so, yeah, politically, some believes in engaging electoral cycles tactically to build our power, to demand, to vision, and to fight for the world we're trying to create, and for the society and the transformation that we know needs to happen. And we are clear that it goes beyond the ballot box. Yeah, yeah. Cool beans. I'm done ranting. I'm done ranting. JMB, I'm gonna slide it over to you, baby.
Could listen to you rant all day, every day. No, there's a lot more in there. Okay, so how did we get here? There has been a live debate for years, as Hooks mentioned, about how songs should build and shift power for years. And we have prioritized building out a grassroots membership base, engaging in political education like we just got a few minutes ago, kinship building, flanking, and leading grassroots direct action, public pressure campaigns. And guess what? We're still doing all of this through our sister organization, Southerners on New Ground. In 2012, we began building out our Free from Fear campaign arm, trying to put some muscle on that arm to hold our targets accountable and see real material changes in our communities. And shout out to our senior strategist stallions, which shepherded us through that time, a lot of S's. Took us down that journey, Kai Lumumba Barrow and Suzanne Farr, to help us build out our campaign arm for basically the last 8 years. But we feel at this point that we have a mandate, as Hook said, to grow and to continue to experiment with new ways to build power. So we want to give a big shout out to some of the folks who have helped us on this journey. We have not gotten here alone by any means. And so first off, I want to shout out some of the song fam, Kate Shapiro, Malachi Larrabee Garza, Kendra Johnson, this Song Power staff team on the line right now, Caitlin Breedlove, Nalini Stamp, Tanya Unzueta, DJ Hudson, Holly Harden, Mandy Carter, and many more members who helped us get here. And a big shout out to our Gold Star donor committee, donor organizing fundraising committee, who you will hear more about later on in the call, I hope. But also, we didn't get here alone, that we actually realized in order to choose the strategies that were best positioned for us to meet the moment, we needed to ask for help from some folk who've been in the C4 game and the electoral game longer than us. And so I'm gonna share this little list that's on our new website. So some of our kindred spirit organization, other C4s that have been grinding and building power that we walk alongside, and who especially helped us to choose the strategies we're gonna talk about tonight, are Action St. Louis, Black Voters Matter, BYP 100, the Carolina Federation, Down Home, North Carolina, Durham for All, the Electoral Justice Project of the Movement for Black Lives, Equality North Carolina, GLAR Action, which is the sister organization of Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights. You're about to hear more from them. JVP Action, Mi Gente, coming soon. National Council of Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls is starting a 501c4. Look out for that, y'all. New Florida Majority, the New Georgia Project, Celea Signals, which is the 501c4 aligned org to Reframe, the Working Families Party, and Women's March. Thank y'all so much for scheming with us in the past year to figure out where we should go. So we vetted and brought together these smart people to vet about 7 potential strategies for where we were positioned as Song Power to build out our work in 2020. And the rubric that we used to assess these potential paths were the following. Will this strategy help us to combat Trumpism in 2020? Will this strategy make a unique contribution to grassroots electoral organizing? In line with what Shahidah and KEEL shared with us earlier about some of the models that we are inspired by and want to follow. Will this strategy lift the ceiling on what is possible in the South and for the South? Will this strategy leverage or innovate partnerships? Will it help us connect with unlikely allies? Will this strategy build movement infrastructure in the South? And will we be able to energize enough resources to fight this well? Our North Star in assessing some of our strategies was, where do we want to be on November 5th, the day after the election? Who do we want to have built alliances with? What kind of base do we want to have built? What kind of muscle do we want to come with? And that has been our guiding star and our North Star since the year we spent in building out this organization. And with that, we're going to hear a little bit more about the fights that we have chosen to pick. But before, I'm going to reshare this slide. Okay, so if you're just joining us, welcome. We are Song Power. To join our fight, if you got to go, run, you're just looking for the website, here it is, unleashpower.org. If you live in South Carolina, we're actually hiring for a paid phone canvas right now. We'll tell you about that in a second. Or you can sign up for our friend-to-friend organizing program, and there's the links. If you live in Georgia, we need you to volunteer. There's the link for that. And follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the things. Here's the link to give a donation, super crucial. And if you missed it, you just joined the call. We are having interpretation in Spanish. It's a call-in line, so you'll see us and then you'll listen on the phone. And that number is 404-549-6942. Shout out to Sensotle Language Justice Cooperative for providing interpretation tonight. And one more reminder, if you want to get hot in the chat, because we do all the time, just change it to all panelists and attendees. That will help make sure it's not just me seeing it, which I'm trying to respond, but I can't get to it. Okay, with that, I will send it back over to you, Mary, Tanya, and Ade to tell us about the first strategy we picked to melt ice in Georgia.
We have been working on election stuff since our first fight in 2016 against Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Phoenix, Arizona. And then we came here to Georgia a couple of years later in 2018 when we felt like it was crucial to, particularly the Latino folks in Georgia, to get a new governor. Obviously, all of that stuff did not work out as we expected, but we know that we built a lot of power, particularly pushing Latinos not so much to think about which candidate is going to save us, but really thinking about how do we grow Latinx power, how do we let people know that we're ready to act, and that when we want to, we can move things in a serious way. And you know, a lot of the work that we have done, a lot of the work that our partners, organizations on the C3 have done, I really think has built up our power and how people, not just people, how people think about us, but how we think about ourselves as a growing population, of people in the state and with growing power. Sorry, I realized I was talking really fast, so I'm gonna slow down a sec. But so this year, you know, we've partnered with our new C4s in this area, right? GLAR, Action, and Song Power. And we've started off by thinking about how we're gonna influence some key races in Georgia, in particular, the sheriff's races in Gwinnett and Cobb County. Right now, we're in the process of really doing some deep education with community members, and maybe Mary and Ade can talk a little bit more about that. because we really want to explore the issues, right? We want people to know where candidates stand on criminalization and immigration enforcement. And then on our once the primary is over in particular, we're going to move towards really trying to get elected the people that we want to see in power, or honestly, like, go against the people we want to make sure are not going to be in power. So, you know, this is all connected to the work that we see as crucial in 2020, right? We know that we're not necessarily excited about our options at the federal level, let's say. But we know that it's really clear that Trump has to get out of office, and that the harm that he's bringing into our communities, from inspiring people to have some of his awful policies, to, you know, how our people are dying during this COVID crisis. And so, as Mary said, I do think that the mandate is to build power and to fight for the best options in our communities. And so we're trying to apply that everywhere, and particularly here in Georgia and in North Carolina. But yeah, I'll pause there and hand it over to Aden.
Hi guys, I am Adelina from Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights. Really happy to be here, and of course, getting ready to get out to the streets in the following month. I'm so happy to be again working with you guys. And a part of the work that we have been doing, as well, you know, is empowering immigrant community, mostly undocumented, low income, for a long, long time. But also we saw that how in many efforts, we haven't been able to break through, and always looking for an answer just through mobilization, to empowering and creating this political conscience among our members. But as many of you know, that since 2016, we saw the need to change our strategies. And part of this is the work that we have been doing with Mi Gente, and learning a lot of that experience. We thought that if we don't find at the national level something to do to help our communities, we must go to the local level. Meaning that our national strategy is our local strategy. No, it's like sometimes for many years when we try to look outside, not for help, and it's nothing that we can have from the outside. We need to look inside. So we spend our time organizing, visiting community members all over the state of Georgia. And that have resulted in having these comités populares, kind of the groups, you know, in mostly in rural areas, in south, in the deep of Georgia, deep south, that could get up a kind of articulating this huge a group of members willing to take a stand, to fight, to go out, and to move, mostly undocumented. I can say right now that 95% of people that we work with are undocumented, low-income community, mostly from rural Georgia as well. Even though we have a big network here in the Metro Atlanta area, more active, no, more kind of ready to go every single time that we have something to do. The idea to join together this effort into the civic engagement has added another strategy to fight for. You know, we are not only going to be good, we are going to be great doing marches or civil disobedience or no, but we are adding another strategy, so we can have multi-strategies that we can kind of like pulling out of my pocket, put it there. No, we are using this, we are doing that, or combining these strategies to get strong. And all this year, we haven't had like a solution to many of our issues. And I think it's the best time and the best opportunity right now to do something for our communities. I think the moment is now, and we have to take that opportunity in our hands. If the federal doesn't solve, we need to do something at the local level. And that's kind of the idea coming into this Cobb County and Gwinnett County, to debunk the sheriffs that they have been in power almost 20 years, each of them, and they need to go. They need to go, and they need to go now. They are the ones kind of pulling back, no, the changes that need to happen. And because the good old boys are very happy, you know, keeping their positions, but the time is now. And I think that we can do something. I think I have these great expectations that we can deliver both together if we join our demands, our efforts, and also our hearts on this. And that's kind of the idea, to mobilize in the following months.
Y'all so good. That's why I folks with y'all a long way. And just the name too, like I think what's been a blessing about this this configuration and formation of groups coming together here in Georgia is, one is this isn't our first time in the rodeo in terms of working together, you know, and it's been a blessing to be able to learn from each other's leadership and you know, really be able to use the strengths that each of us have to bring forth and to lay bare for this fight. And just a few things that I'll add before I kick it over to Jade and others to talk about South Carolina is some of the things that we know COVID is like, you know, kind of turned our shit upside down a little bit. But at the same time, we've still been able to engage and have candidate community town halls and candidate forums that we just finished up last week. And so we'll also be engaging in more political education, because we know that the work that we do in this electoral cycle, you know, is a tactic. And again, our accountability and our desires to build movement and long-term work. And so part of that is also to be able to politicize the base of folk who are coming into contact with this work. And so we'll be doing a political education set to discuss and talk about Black and Brown solidarity work and what have our historical work been, and what are some examples we've seen in the ways in which we've built power across Black and Brown working class LGBTQ communities. So we're super excited about it. We need y'all to join. Come on those webinars and get engaged. Those in Georgia, make sure you sign up to volunteer. And when, you know, we know that there's going to be opportunities for other paid canvas efforts, phone canvas efforts, et cetera. And we want to make sure that, you know, folks can throw down. But yeah, I think, is there anything else y'all want to add?
I just wanted to say that watching Mary Hooks and Adelina Nichols talk one-on-one with candidates running for sheriff and pushing back on like what they think criminalization is and like what it means for them to promise like stop collaboration with ICE, I feel like has been pretty amazing and something that doesn't happen very often. And so yeah, excited about the kind of work that is going to happen from this collaboration.
Thank you all so much. That is so freaking exciting. And if you are fired up now to get in alignment with Mary, with Tanya, with Ade, and with the dream team of Song Power, GLAR Action, and Mi Gente, you can connect with the Georgia work at bit.ly. I always feel silly saying that. bit.ly/songpower-volunteer. And you'll be able to get more information as well about the upcoming political education webinar that the Georgia team is holding on Black and Brown and working class solidarity. So thank y'all so much. We're so pumped to be working with GLAR Action and with Mi Gente in the fight in Cobb County and in Gwinnett County in Georgia. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is our Song Power launch webinar. We're having interpretation on the phone line. So the number to call is here. If you or someone you know would like to listen to the interpreters translating into Spanish. You can also join our fight at unleashpower.org and sign up to take action in South Carolina, in Georgia. Connect with us on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. And already blessings, beautiful people coming through with a little money donation already in the chat. bit.ly/songpower is the donation link to give us some money to fund this work. And with that, oh yeah, the other thing I'm supposed to say, please keep the chat lively. Love it. If you have questions or comments or just want to show some love, make sure you change it to all panelists and attendees. There's also like a Q&A button, never pressed it myself, but go ahead and put your questions there because we will read them and we'll answer them as we're going through tonight. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can also put comments there, and there's a team of gay people just waiting to look for what you write. So please engage with us. Let us know what you want to hear. So now we're going to kick it over to our members on the ground in South Carolina. Tell us a little bit about the work that we are going to be moving this year here on the ground in SC. And so Logan, let me see if I see. Go for it, buddy.
Hey y'all, my name is Logan. I use she, her, they pronouns, and I was born and raised in South Carolina, and I'm now a member of Song Columbia. I've lived here my whole life, and like so many other states where this radical conservative rhetoric has allowed the right wing to run opposed and unashamed for decades. In South Carolina, we see the concentrated effects of white supremacy, of poverty, of misogyny, and homophobia every day. So at Song Power, we believe that both the barriers to justice and the potential wins, potential wins against this radical conservatism are greater in states in the Deep South, like South Carolina. And that's why our campaign is to take on Lindsey Graham, United States Senator from South Carolina and poster boy of right-wing homophobia, union busting, and rape apologizing. Despite the negative impact of his actions against the people of South Carolina and the US as a whole, Graham has nevertheless held his seat for nearly 20 years, y'all. And since Trump's election, he has doubled down on his bootlicking and renewed his commitment to a regressive vision of South Carolina and of this nation. Now, the people of South Carolina, we know he's a grifter. We know that he's a self-serving partisan whose commitment to anything only goes as far as it takes to further his own career. And y'all, his past voting record and his actions during this pandemic show his true colors. For example, he has repeatedly, actively taken steps to hurt the workers of South Carolina. Over 400,000 people have filed for unemployment since the outbreak of this pandemic. And we can go into it if you'd like, but he has the bare bones of it is that he has fought tooth and nail against any kind of steps that have been attempted or actually been successful when it comes to helping unemployed workers in this state. He has said, and I quote, if y'all saw that article last week, "Over our dead bodies, will Congress expand help to workers who need it most?" That his qualms with the stimulus bill that was proposed centered around denying much needed aid to workers and not the proposed $17 billion bailout for Boeing tells you all you need to know about his character. But if that isn't enough, part of the reason this pandemic has gotten so bad is the lack of healthcare infrastructure in this country. And Lindsey Graham has long done everything he can to cut off healthcare for poor people who need it most. Graham has said that he would, quote, help to abolish the Affordable Care Act. He ran a TV campaign ad bragging that he opposed Obamacare from day one, voted to repeal it, and introduced legislation giving states the option to opt out. In the past, he's voted against the expansion of CHIP, the children's health insurance, denying millions of children the right to health care and denying the health care coverage of low-income and pregnant people. And listen, y'all, these things are a drop in the bucket, right? Which is why we want him out, which is why he's got to go. And with that, I'll pass it on to Robert John to explain what that fight looks like here in South Carolina.
Thank you, my friend. Hey, this is Robert John. I use he and him pronouns representing Columbia. So what does this fight mean to South Carolina? So SONG has had a long history organizing in South Carolina and helping to skill up local organizers. By focusing on holding Graham accountable, SONG is connecting our historical work and uplifting our beloved community values. SONG Power will energize our constituency and lay the groundwork for local organizing beyond 2020. An investment of this scale, as we've talked about earlier, in South Carolina's movement infrastructure will definitely make an impact. SONG Power will be able to identify new leaders, forge new relationships and connections, in addition to developing more strategic organizing skills and showing the world, you know what's up. When you invest in the South, we get shit done. Truth. So how are we going to go about doing this? So what we're going to do is we're going to run a statewide strategy, aware that in the midst of a public health crisis, we're going to have to adapt our field programs and adhere to the times. We're going to build up our friend-to-friend relational organizing, narrative communications, as well as usher a cultural shift. And of course, we're going to have some gay-ass abolitionist direct actions to denounce and delegitimate Lindsey Graham and his policies. Along with cracking Graham, crack Graham. We want to leave South Carolina much more stronger than they were before. Like, we want more grassroots leaders. We want to fortify organizations that are here. And we want to animate and engage our constituency. And the opportunities for broad-scale transformative organizing is real. We have seen it already as we learn about our political education. These are possibles. These are things that can happen, and these are things that we will make happen. So on that note, I'm gonna pass the mic on to Miss Jade.
I love you both so much. Oh my God, my comrades. All right, y'all. So we are not gonna lie to you. We will not tell a lie. This fight will not be easy. This state, South Carolina, is, the pundits say, a very safe Republican seat. And as Logan shared, Graham has held this seat for a long ass time. He's been challenged before and it basically trounced the opposition. So we know we have an uphill battle. However, in a poll taken in December, Graham was only leading his opponent in this election by 2 points. And now during this pandemic, they have been effectively tied. Y'all may have seen that Harrison actually outraised Graham last quarter, even though Lindsey Graham's got a lot more money in his war chest. But in order to win, the strategists that we listen to really think that there will not only have to be massive voter turnout in South Carolina, but Harrison, Lindsey Graham's opponent, Jamie Harrison, will also have to overperform with white working class voters, just as Stacey Abrams did in the Georgia 2018 Democratic governor's race that Tanya mentioned earlier. So that's where we come in. Graham crackers, y'all hear? We're trying to crack that motherfucker. His opponent, let's just be real, we aren't gonna lie. Harrison, not a progressive champion. He's not a Green New Deal, Medicare for all kind of guy. And we know that going in. This fight for us is more about what Marisa Franco of Mi Gente talks about in terms of which target do we want to choose to get in the ring with for the battles to come. Who do we want to fight? Someone who has an eye out for poor people, for Black people, for workers, or someone who has done everything in his power to bend over for corporations. That's an easy pick for us. We predict, our other strategy to win is that we predict that Harrison's campaign and the South Carolina Democratic Party is gonna pour a majority of resources into mobilizing Black voters and into turnout, and won't have as many resources to shift movable white folks in particular, which we also think is crucial to a win. So a part of our organizing is really focusing on white voters who are low turnout, low propensity white voters who are galvanized to fight in this moment because of the ways that Lindsey Graham has come for working people, come for poor and working class white people too, come for sick white people, come for folk who are really hurting in this moment. And we think this is where we could have a value added muscle. And this is also an opportunity for us to flex our multiracial, cross-race, cross-class, cross-gender, and cross-sexuality organizing strategy. And we recognize there will need to be different messages, different messengers for different communities, but that through that cross-race and cross-class organizing, we can show the best of our Southern organizing tradition to win this fight. So again, in the last election, when Graham won in 2014, he trounced his opponent, I'm not gonna lie, 54-39. But in the midterms, more recently in South Carolina, 30 of the 46 counties here shifted to the left, including 8 of those counties shifted more than 5 points to the left. So we don't have a crystal ball to predict turnout in November, but our best guess is that there will be a vote differential, some of a number of votes we have to make up our side, not only Song Power, but folk who are aligned with us, somewhere between 125,000 and 200,000. That's based on what we saw from the midterms and what we believe Harrison will need to win. And so our field strategy is focused on cutting off a chunk of that pie. Don't think we can do the whole pie ourselves, but through strong coalitions in the state and working with aligned organizations, we want to move at least 50,000 people through our graham cracker strategy. And we know our work just got harder. In the pandemic, the right strategy to amp up voter suppression in particular is gonna be intense, and especially with people out of work, folks sick, folks caring for sick people, it's gonna be harder and harder to get to the polls. And so, yeah, that's gonna be a huge part of what we're working towards, and we know we have to work twice as hard. But like we said, our sister organization, Southerners on New Ground, has said about our Black Mamas Bailout campaign, shared risk going in, shared reward going out. We know there are risks, we know there's a huge opportunity here, and we know it's gonna take a lot. This campaign is a strategic effort that understands also that barriers to justice and potential wins are greater in states in the South that have been least invested in. And so we feel this grassroots effort to delegitimize Graham could really both reshape things here in the state, locally and statewide, but also really send a message to the right wing that their time is up, even in the places in our region they feel most secure. So that's our plan, y'all, a little bit, snapshot of it. And I hope that has made sense. I'm gonna pause for a second and see if there's questions in the chat or other through this Q&A function and that we should answer. Okay, going through. People working out the tech. Yes, thank you. All right, with that, just a little reminder, here is more information about how you can support our fights in Georgia and South Carolina. Visit our website at unleashpower.org to become a volunteer, sign up for our mailing list. If you live in South Carolina, there's some links to get in alignment with us. Or if you live in Georgia, there you go. And connect with us on the internet, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. and we would love and be honored if you would share a donation. If you or someone you know would like to listen in Spanish, we have interpretation on the line, and the phone number is 404-549-6942. And so we're going to dig in a little bit more to how you can support our work now. So I'll pass it to you, Jillian.
Jade, real quick before that, there is a question in the Q&A about the South Carolina work.
Yeah, I saw that question really quick. Thanks, BRANDL. The question was, has Harrison's team been receptive to y'all's work? I hear he's not the progressive champion, but is he down to collaborate? That's a really great question. And we are not coordinating with the Harrison campaign, so we haven't met with them, and we don't know.
So a little bit back to the slide and what Mary mentioned earlier. If you are in Georgia, you can sign up to volunteer for our phone canvas and get more info on the upcoming political education webinar that we will be hosting. It'll be around Black and Brown solidarity at this time. You can go to bit.ly/songpowervolunteer to get that. And we can go to Robert John, if you can tell us how you can get involved in South Carolina.
So if you're in South Carolina and you want to help, we need more folks who are down with our team, and we need you to help us find them. So you can sign up to be a leader in our friend-to-friend organizing program, where we're asking 50 people to recruit 10 friends or family members who will be interested in joining our organizing work to build a South Carolina that is for all of us. You can download the Empower app and you can start connecting. We also have opportunities for phone canvassing as well. The idea is, do you want to organize towards a South Carolina based on the principles of our beloved community, and to fight for and to win communities where Black people, immigrants, LGBTQ folk, workers, and women can feel free from fear. So in order to do that, Song Power will be running a virtual canvas of community members, will be a text and calls for the month of May. We will be providing a small stipend, $15 an hour for 8 to 10 hours of work per week. And for members to make calls and texts to other South Carolinians to ask how they're doing in this time of the pandemic, what do their families need, and what do they wish the government was doing for them right now to help, as well as figuring out and confirming who's registered to vote. So that is the work that we are leading here in South Carolina. And I'm gonna pass the mic on to Micah.
We would love for you to give to Song Power tonight. I'm gonna put the bit.ly in the chat box. It's bit.ly/songpower, pretty straightforward. And a bunch of thanks already to Anthony, Jamil, Roberto, Leticia, Carlin, Ruby Beth, Caroline, Holly. All y'all already gave. Thank you. Here's some background. We're just 30,000 away from our mid-year fundraising goal, thanks in large part to our Gold Star Donor Organizing Committee, which you can join. Some of them are on the call. If we meet our mark by the end of May, here's what we'll be able to do. We can hire a full field staff in Georgia and South Carolina, fund a big gay communications campaign to get the word out across the region and the country, do massive digital organizing work in a time of pandemic, engage in widespread online voter engagement and canvassing, all well ahead of the general election and in time to win, and at a safe social distance, keep our people healthy. And we have an opportunity right now to rebuild our economy, our political system, our communities in a way that is free from fear and worthy of the South's legacy of redemption, abolition, Black-led freedom dreams, and broad-scale community organizing. But like a bunch of said, we need your help to do it. So we know these times are hard financially for a bunch of folks and our families, but those who still have the means to give, we need you now more than ever to help us get to the finish line. So I want to ask y'all to put your vote of support behind the work, donate now at that bit.ly/songpower. And if you're giving or you have given, tell us why in the chat or the Facebook comments. Why Song Power and why now? Oh, and if you want to join us in organizing wealthy people in and outside the South to throw down, to crack Graham, to fuck up all the nasty sheriffs in Georgia, hit me up. You can email me at micah@songsouth.org and I'll get you in with our Gold Star committee. I'll put my email in the chat too. Anybody giving? Oh, look, Shan says, I'm in. Y'all are taking on this bold new endeavor in the midst of a pandemic. Y'all inspire me. I'll match your 250 race tonight. Amazing. Amazing. I'm going to pass it back to Jade, but please keep it coming in the comments, y'all. And thank you so much, Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Micah. Thank you, Gold Stars. Love a gold star. We've got some sexy questions coming in the Q&A. Some of them we might need more info around. So anonymous attendee, get ready to tell us what you mean. Okay, so I think we answered the first question. We're not coordinating with the Harrison campaign in South Carolina. So we're focusing on building out our own messaging, building out our own strategies to crack Graham, but haven't sat down with them or anything like that because we separate. The next question was, were you guys involved in the organizing that moved South Carolina to the left? What worked, and how will that inform your work going forward? So I'm curious if there's South Carolina folks in the chat, here with us, that want to chime in the chat. I feel like this is a broader question that only I can answer. So if things y'all have seen working, folks who are living and organizing in South Carolina in the last few years to move South Carolina to the left, what are those things? What do you see working? We haven't directly, we just launched Song Power right now. This is it, you're here. So we haven't directly been doing electoral organizing on the ground in South Carolina before this, if this was your question, anonymous attendee. But I think that, yeah, I'm so curious for other folk who've been organizing here, what y'all have seen working. And Song, our sister organization, did a lot of organizing in South Carolina in 2014, 15, 16. I'm like, BRANDL, Micah, Song itself did a lot of organizing in South Carolina, 2013 through 16. Y'all want to chime in? Anything that you want to share to shout out from Song's organizing during that time you think is special? Or other people's?
Oh yeah, I can start. Jinx, Jade, I put the same thing in the chat that you said with your mouth. Wow. I wanted, there's been so much. We started the chapter in South Carolina. Correct me, is it 2012, JILLIAN, when the chapter started in South Carolina? Yeah. And there was lots of organizing, including after Walter Scott was murdered by the police in 2015, our very own BRANDL helped block a bridge, my friends, the big bridge, Charleston, South Carolina, shut it down. I believe that is the largest and most significant roadblock in the city that's ever happened. It's pretty special. Racial work to shut down the bridge and call for a different kind of city. And I can drop the link in the chat if y'all want to watch the video because I got it on my fingertips. But there was also organizing after the massacre at Mother Emanuel. Mary Hooks led a March for Black Lives along with many other Black leaders in the city. That was beautiful and pushed back against this narrative that we need to be genteel and not share our anger and our feelings in a moment of massive national tragedy and local tragedy. And those are just a few like big examples. But besides that, Song politicized me in South Carolina. And that's part of the reason I'm here today. So many thanks to all those who came before me. And I don't know if you have anything to add, other South Carolina friends.
We did a lot of weird stuff in the beginning around 2013, 2014. We, one Valentine's Day, decorated the back of a U-Haul truck, or it was a budget truck because we couldn't afford a U-Haul, made it into a love den and interviewed folks on why we belong as queer folks, as immigrants, and as Black folks in Charleston. Google the love truck, it's very weird. And we did a lot of work with Project South after People's 100 Days with Obama's second term, and did another visionary action where we washed the Daughters of the Confederacy building and made it Yeah, and did a beautiful spoken word piece while we were washing the building to shift the narrative and rewrite ourselves back into the history of South Carolina and Charleston specifically.
Yes, thank you, team. EK also put in the chat, our member leader in Colombia. I first got involved with song when Lyles, Pope, and Princess on the line, came to Columbia to support Trans United of South Carolina in our rally. Oh God, I lost it. People trying to say it. In our rally and organized testimony against the bathroom bill in 2016. Hells yeah. Love you, Princess. Look at there's Princess. So yes, thank y'all so much for speaking to some of the legacy of songs work here. Mike has posted an article, see BRANDL and others shutting down that bridge. It was great. Okay, that was a little bit of an answer to your question, anonymous attendee. Next question, which campaigns are Song collaborating with? Okay, this is where, my friend, we need more information. I think you maybe mean political campaigns, elected official campaigns, but I don't know. So go ahead and come back to the Q&A, tell us what you mean. But at present, as a 501c4, we're not coordinating with any like elections campaigns. But if you mean something different, help us out. And then a really excellent question, somebody asked, would someone have to be a member of both Song and Song Power in order to be able to talk politics, or just Song Power? Well, my friend, you can talk politics all damn day. You can talk politics morning, you can talk nights. You are your own person and a human being entitled to your power, self-determination. But this is an excellent question, because at present, members are members still of Southerners on New Ground, our sister organization, which is a 501c3, and thus we can't really get involved with, as a 501c3, we're nonpartisan, we don't get involved with electeds or political campaigns. So right now, the only two campaigns that Song Power is moving are these in Georgia and South Carolina, and our members are sitting tight in our Song C3 sister organization. So feel free to talk politics all you want, but as a representative of Song, we are gonna keep it friendly and nonpartisan. Cool, keep them coming in the chat and the Q&A, which is a new feature I'm just learning about. But real quick, I'm gonna share this screen again. If you're interested in our interpretation, it's on the line right now at this phone number from Sensotle Language Justice Cooperative, 404-549-6942. And we invite you in a second, I'm gonna screen share this next part, to join our fight at our new Song Power website, unleashpower.org. If you live, there you can sign up to become a volunteer or for our mailing list. If you live in South Carolina, please apply or tell your friends to apply for our paid phone canvas team at bit.ly/apply-canvas. We are paying people right now, make phone calls, send text messages across the state to communities asking how folks are doing, and to build our base here in the state and get connected with more and more people in certain counties we're targeting. So please join up with our paid phone canvas. We're also running a friend-to-friend organizing program in South Carolina, and you can join up with that at bit.ly/empower-sc. You got friends, you got family in South Carolina, even if you don't live here, you know someone famous from here, love you. Join our friend-to-friend organizing program. We need you, and we need that famous person. And if you live in Georgia, sign up to volunteer for our phone canvas and also get more info on some upcoming political education webinars that you don't want to miss at bit.ly/songpower-volunteer. We would love for you to connect with us on the internet, on Instagram and on Twitter. We're at SongPowerC4, so be sure and tell your friends. You can also like our Facebook page. You might be watching it right now at facebook.com/songpowerc4. And thank you so much to so many people on the line already who've already generously given a donation to Song Power to build our work at bit.ly/songpower. And so with that, let me check back in the chat. Oh my God, thank you so much, Mackie. Wow, I love everybody on the line. Okay, real quick, I just want to check because somebody whose face you can't see but is busting their ass right now is Mickey Jordan, our Song Power digital strategist, who is making it happen for this to go on the internet to millions of people. And Mickey was going to share a little bit of an overview of our website, our brand new website, but I think that he has decided that there might be a sound thing. But I just want to check, Mickey, do you want to try? If not, I'll do it. Just send Mickey some love right now. Mickey is making it work with all these data little pixels. One and the other is talking to one and the other. This is our brand new website. This is the homepage. Can you see the homepage? I hope so. Song Power. This is our tagline. Come out, destroy fear, unleash power. Shout out to Poonam Wabi who helped build this website. We love you. Thank you. You're very, very patient. And here you can click to join us. You can sign up for our mailing list. You can sign up to volunteer, which we desperately need. So we would love for you to sign up to volunteer. You can also donate. It's a big yellow button. We would love your donations, anything you're generous enough to share. Here on our website, you can also take action to be a leader in our friend-to-friend organizing program. So there's a little place that you can get in line or send it to other people you know in South Carolina to take action. And then we have some descriptions of what we're doing here with Song Power, what our goals are this year, and the fights we're picking in particular. And you can also find more ways to get connected with us in upcoming events in our blog post. And then if you keep going, you see all our beautiful, whoa, I see my own face on this webinar right now. It's very meta. But you can see the places to get connected with our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter, which this Mickey Jordan, this digital strategist, had made so beautiful. So follow us and like our new website and give us some love and get in alignment and get connected. Okay, I'm gonna check the Q&A again, and then we might just do one more round of info and call it a night. Okay, really good question. Let me read it. Would you say that we as Song were doing the electoral experiment to build power into a 501c4? And now with a 501c4, we're experimenting with which campaigns we as Song are going to jam on. Such a great question. I'm curious, my other comrades put it in the chat. I'm like, who asked this question? I have a guess, but I do not know. I'm going to read it again. Would you say that with the electoral experiments, which you can find more insight on our electoral experiments on our website, unleashpower.org, that Song, our sister organization, was building power into a 501c4. And now with the 501c4, we're experimenting with which campaigns we as Song are going to jam on. I think that's such a really interesting question. I'm super curious what other people who are a part of the electoral experiments would say. Shout out if you're here. I figured my Virgo friend had that question. But if you're here and you ran an electoral experiment in the last couple of years with our sister organization Song, would love to know your thoughts on this. But those two electoral experiments we ran in Birmingham, Alabama, and Nashville, Tennessee. Both of those were C3 work. So it was about building attention to the issues we work on, ending money bail and pretrial detention, and melting ice. And in Birmingham, especially because there was, I believe, a sheriff and a DA election at the time that folks were knocking doors. And then in Nashville, Tennessee, our team in a really powerful coalition got on the ballot and passed a community oversight board over police with real teeth in Nashville. And so in some ways, Apollo, I think this question, or sorry, Anonymous Attendee, like sort of implies more of a plan than we had at the time. So I think the answer is no. Our intention wasn't like to build the bricks of the C4 going into those fights. And now our intention isn't necessarily to build the bricks of campaigns. I think that's what you asked. But I think that the electoral experiments taught us so much. Our sister organization, Song, and many of us who were volunteering or throwing down at the time really taught us so much about the power that we see in this tactic of talking to more strangers, using the elections as an opportunity to build power for our communities and build the strength of our organization and our movement. But I was like, not so much a like cause and effect, but definitely incredibly influence the strategy right now. Yeah, butterfly effect. I'm into it. Cool. Can I kick it back actually to Jillian, Robert, John, and Micah? Will you do one more round of your how to help, and then we will call it a night.
Hey, y'all. So again, if you're in South Carolina, we definitely need folks who are going to be down with us. We need you to help us reach them. And we're asking you to, you can sign up to be one of our leaders in our Friend to Friend organizing program, where we're asking 50 people to connect with 10 family or friends who might be interested in organizing with us, might be interested in being down with us. You can achieve that by downloading Empower and start connecting with folks. Again, we also have a phone canvassing program where Song Power will be running a virtual canvas of community members who will be providing, we also will be providing a small stipend of $15 an hour for 8 to 10 hours per week. And we're asking folks to make texts or calls to other South Carolinians to ask them how they're doing at this time of the pandemic, to see what their family needs and what would they want from the government at this point in time, and also to confirm that people have registered. So that's the work that we're doing here at SC.
In Georgia right now, you can get involved by signing up to volunteer for our phone canvas. And we are also having some political education webinars around Black and Brown solidarity at this time. If you're having fun on this webinar, go ahead and come with us and have some more webinars. You can sign up for those two things at bit.ly/songpower.volunteer. And pass to Micah.
I already did a big gay pitch, so now I'm going to do a little gay pitch. Ready? All right. Thanks to everyone who's already given tonight. We got so many. Appreciate y'all so much. And so folks know, we're trying to raise $30,000 before the middle of the year, so we can do our full work in Georgia, South Carolina, across the region. And like folks have been saying, just freaking kneecap the right wing and send a message across the country. And we need your help. So if you got the means to give right now, support us. Go to bit.ly/songpower and drop it in the chat really quick if you're going to do it. We want you. We want you to tell us why. And if you want to help us, if you know wealthy people, you know people with money, you want to help us get their money to queers in the South, email me. I'm Micah@songsouth.org, and I'll put it in the chat. You can join our team.
Well, with that, we have never been early in our MFing lives. Not one time, but tonight, because we got this new organization, all of a sudden, we early. So we are gonna hold the line for a little while in case people have questions, wanna connect, but we're so grateful that y'all took the time to be on tonight to hear a little bit more about our work. If you have advice for us, tips, tricks, things you disagree with, things you think we might not know, gosh, we would love it. Hit us up, follow us on the internet or on our website, and on all those things we talked about for many, many times. And we love you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna put the song back on that we played at the top and just see if people want to kick it and hang out. But we really appreciate y'all taking the time to be with us tonight, and all your generosity for those who committed, pledged a gift, or are going to talk to your friends and family about giving a gift to our work. All right, y'all. Take care.
Thank y'all so much. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.